Am I the asshole for refusing to give my room to my married cousin? I'm very upset as I'm writing this, so there might be errors, so PLS bear with me. On a 1-week family vacation, my immediate family aren't here. My dad got me a room at the hotel we were all staying, so I could have my own room. My cousins, 32F. I'll call her Joe, her husband I'll call him Bill, and their 2 kids had the room next to mine. The second day my cousins and I wanted to go to the beach. Joe asked if she could stay in my room because her husband and kids were disturbing her rest. I said okay and gave her my room card. We were gone for like the whole day. When we returned, Joe was still in my room. She had been watching TV. She had actually rented a movie. I was angry at this because it was my dad's credit card on the billing for the room. She apologized and left. The next day she asked to use my room again, promised not to rent a movie, and I agreed. When I returned, Bill was in my room laying on my bed. I wasn't mad, but I also didn't like it. I asked them to leave, that I needed to get ready since we were all going out to eat. We're at the restaurant eating, joking around, having a nice time, when my aunt, Joe's mom, the official adult of the family vacay, said, and I quote, "You'll be sleeping in Joe's room with the kids so your elder sister and her husband can have some privacy." I honestly didn't think she was talking to me until my uncle snapped at me asking if I was deaf. I looked around. Everyone was looking at me, waiting for my okay or yes, ma. But I said no. The vibe of our table changed. My aunt basically ordered me to hand over my room card. Again, I said no. She then said it was wrong of me to expect adults to be sleeping in the same room with their kids when another child has a free room. I'm 22, but I'm also the youngest. Sorry, I'm 24. Again I said no and asked her to ask someone else. At this, everyone turned on me asking why I needed a room to myself. What was I doing by myself that would make me not want to share with kids? It was so uncomfortable I left. The next day, we had plans to go to the theme park, but they all left without me. I called my cousins, but they won't pick up. I texted and was left on read. I called my dad about this and he told me not to worry, he'll handle it. Dinner that night, I was called a snitch, that I had run to my dad when I was the one being disrespectful. Then my auntie asked me to leave the table or give my elder sister my room card. It was like a go to your room moment, so I went to my room, called my dad again, and this time he told me to just change rooms to hold the peace. My mom and brothers said not to, that they were looking for a free babysitter. Her kids aren't unruly half the time, but I'm not here to babysit. Today, I was left behind again. I don't know, I'm really upset about this, but I also don't want to give in. I'm thinking to just go home, but it's quite expensive to change my ticket. So 3 days left of this. Crying. Not the asshole if your aunt wants your cousin to have her own, then your aunt can pay for her to have her own room. It isn't on you. Since they keep ditching you, use this opportunity to do your own things. Screw them. Do the things you want, but no one else wants to. This time he told me to just change rooms to hold the peace. Bullshit. You father needs to step up and put a decisive end to this abuse. Do not cave. This bullying cannot be rewarded. If you happen to leave early, check out of the room so that it is back on the market and has to be paid for. Do not let them bully you into getting a free room if you leave. Not the asshole. Not the asshole your family sees you as an easy target to bully. If I were you, I would have either left or done some of my own solo traveling. They weren't worth your parents shifting their schedule to play catch up. They aren't worth your time either. Have some solo fun, and please for me just say on the last say, this was the best vacation ever. All the places I got to see and the people's true colors I got to see. Single quote. Edit. Word. Not the asshole. It's your room, paid for by your family. At 22, you're not a kid, you're an adult. If your cousins were also adults and want privacy, they can pay for a separate room. Since they can't, they're clearly not mature adults able to put on their big boy pants. You don't need to go with other people to have fun. If you want to go to the theme park and your extended family are being children, just call a taxi, Uber, and go. Not the asshole. Your room was paid for by your dad and is your room. This was done specifically so you didn't have to share with anyone else. You've seen that no one else is willing to give up their room for your cousin, so why should you? If they keep leaving you behind, find things to do by yourself that you are interested in.
Make this the trip you would have planned instead of a family trip filled with drama. Not the asshole, don't switch.
Enjoy the last 3 days,
Have fun on your own. Go out by yourself.
warn the hotel they will probably try to enter your room, but are not allowed. Am I the asshole for not punishing my daughter for what she said? My husband and I are slightly more well off than my sister's family. Because of this, my parents do more for them than they do us. When it comes to gifts, my daughter, Maddie 7, get things from the dollar store while my nephews get whole Lego sets, iPads and even Disney trips.
If my sister needs babysitting, they will drop everything for her last minute.
If I need it, I have to give them a 2 weeks heads up as well as proper payment.
Because of this clear favoritism, my daughter doesn't have a good relationship with them. If you ask her about her grandparents, her mind automatically goes to my husband's parents because she forgets that she has 2 pairs.
Earlier today we having a rare meetup with my parents.
My daughter asked if she can go on the trampoline outside. My dad said no because it's for my nephews.
My daughter begged but dad still said no.
Maddie then stomps away and said this is why I like other grandma and grandpa more. My parents looked at me expectantly but I didn't do anything.
I recently got off a call with my mom saying I should have told Maddie that was wrong to say. I told her what do you expect, she thinks y'all hate her and y'all do nothing to dispel those thoughts. She just got quiet for a bit then said I still shouldn't let her say something like that to family and hung up.
My husband is on my side but he also isn't a fan of my family, so I need an outside opinion. Am I the asshole? Edit. To make some of you feel better, we don't bring her around them often, she only sees them on holidays with the rest of our extended family.
We were only visiting today to get something I was left in a will. As for babysitting, I have only asked twice in extreme emergencies and they said no.
I have talked to them about this but they say it's not favoritism, she just needs less help because we are better off.
Update. Just got off the phone with my uncle.
Apparently dad called him ranting about how disrespectful we are.
Apparently this all stems from me going to college.
Dad said since I had to be all hoity-toity and go to college I shouldn't need his help and I should be living the easy life.
He also said I'm selfish for trying to take help away from those who need it. Not sure what to think about all that. He's never brought up having a problem with that before. I'm going to discuss this with the rest of the family because with the holidays approaching I don't want to cut everybody else out to avoid them, so I'm going to ask how they feel about all this.
Not the asshole for not punishing your daughter, but why do you force her to be around your parents when she clearly knows they favor her cousins?
Why was she the one to point out the favoritism? As her parent, you should have been reprimanding your parents for their treatment of your child.
Maddie deserves grandparents who appreciate her, and if she can't have that, she should at least have a mom who sticks up for her. Go low contact with your parents until they're ready to treat all their grandkids equally.
Not the asshole.
Why bother bringing her with you? They don't deserve her as a granddaughter.
Is it because their other grandkids are boys, or is your sister the golden child? It should not matter if you are slightly better off. They are being cruel. Not the asshole.
Your daughter said something they don't like and it's a direct result of what they do. Your parents are more concerned about your daughter owing them respect, or what they consider respect, than they are about her preferring her other grandparents and feeling unloved. The favoritism of which your daughter is the victim is not acceptable and she should no longer be put in this situation. They wouldn't be allowed to see my daughter if they made such a difference between their grandchildren. This kind of injustice leaves its mark right up to adulthood and build resentment between the kids.
Not the asshole.
My daughter asked if she can go on the trampoline outside. My dad said no because it's for my nephews. My daughter begged but dad still said no. The rest of the favoritism to their other grandchildren aside, forbidding your daughter to use the trampoline makes no sense.
Of course A7YO isn't going to understand. She then said I still shouldn't let her say something like that to family and hung up. Perhaps she should start treating your daughter like she is family then. Everyone sucks here except Maddie.
How to phrase this? I think YTA for subjecting your daughter to this. For asking us, is it okay for my daughter to stand up for herself, instead of having stood up for her already? Set boundaries and limitations and cut these people out of Maddie's life entirely when they failed to treat her fairly and equally.
For talking about what Maddie did at the age of 7 instead of putting your foot down when she was 4.
You're NTA for supporting what Maddie said.
But you are an asshole for letting it get to here in the first place.
The way Maddie advocated for herself wasn't super appropriate, but you've never once advocated for her and shown her a good example of what they should be.
If you had, we wouldn't be here. Not the asshole. I would not bring my child around my parents if they treated her so unfairly. Are you sure it's just the difference in finances? When we were little, me and my siblings were treated like your daughter or worse from our parental grandparents.
At the time we didn't get why they hated us and it hurt. Growing up we learned something they never tried to hide, but we were too little to understand. Our father was the scapegoat. They treated him like shit and the other siblings could do no wrong.
It's been 7 years of this behavior towards your daughter. That's enough. You should cut her time with your parents. Am I the asshole for telling my husband to stop eating like he's never seen food before?
I'll try to make this short, but don't judge just off the title. I, 29 female, went out for dinner with husband, 28 male. Last night nothing fancy, just a chain sports bar, and it being a Friday, the place was packed. We sit, place our order, and we're catching up on the day. Everything is going fine.
When the waitress brought out our appetizer,
my husband grabs about 4 decent-sized tortilla chips and scoops an actual mountain of spinach dip with them and shoved the whole thing in his mouth.
And when I say shoved, I mean shoved his fingers in his mouth with the food.
By the time I'd had 3 chips with some dip, the entire rest of the appetizer was gone, so I was already irked and embarrassed because of course people were staring at us. I said as much to him, and when he said he didn't see what he was doing wrong, I told him, "You're acting like you've never seen food before, it's embarrassing."
He didn't say another word to me after that, and has barely spoke to me today either. I don't think I'm the asshole for telling him I was embarrassed by how he was eating and annoyed that most of the appetizer was eaten by him, but I may have taken it too far with the last comment. For further context, no, this isn't the first time this has happened. I've told him multiple times it's embarrassing when he does this and asked him why so I can try to help or at least understand a bit better.
It's only at this specific chain, and his answer always is either IDK or that he really loves the spinach dip they have. He also does this at home, but I don't really care when he's at home because I'm not going to dictate how he acts in the privacy of our house.
Also to note, because I'm sure people may ask, no, he did not grow up in a food-insecure household. They weren't rich but not struggling that much. And neither are we struggling now. No, there is no history with an eating disorder either in him or his family. With all that said, AITA?
Edit because people keep asking the same questions, so just for clarity.
1. Yes, I have had this same conversation before with him in much nicer ways and usually in private. He actively knows I hate when he eats like that. 2.
Yes, he eats like this at home, but never when there are people over and not when we go to other people's homes. I don't give him shit over it because I'm not gonna police what he does when he's in private.
3. No, I'm not going to divorce him over this. I know in my head this is one of very few things we argue about.
Is it annoying?
Yes. But it's a wild take to tell me to divorce my husband over it. 4. We continue to go to this place because it's a cheap, convenient option for when he has a super late shift, gets out at 11 or later, because it is 5 minutes from our house and is one of the few places open at that time. 5. No, my husband is not in the military. I would be grumpy about barely getting any appetizer. Like, manners aside, it's just rude to hog the whole thing.
I would say not the asshole. While I am skeptical that people were jaw-dropped staring at him eat, part of being partners is compromising. You don't mind him eating that way at home, and in return he can be more respectful and display proper etiquette in public settings.
Not the asshole, and I would seriously consider filming him to show him how he really acts.
Does he not realize what he's doing?
That's really bizarre, to be shoveling food into his mouth.
It's not like he's running out the door to be somewhere on time while trying to eat.
Not the asshole.
Barbaric table manners are a huge turn-off to just about anyone.
Not the asshole. This is a hard boundary for me. I do not like having to fight over food. Part of being married is being a team, and part of being a team is not taking food out of your teammate's mouth. Not the asshole.
Your husband sounds like he has zero table manners and is deficient in social manners, too. Just stop going out to dinner with him, and when he asks you why you no longer go out to dinner, tell him exactly why.
Does he eat like this at home too?
Does he eat too infrequently that he ends up starving? Does he have blood sugar issues?
For the last one, if your sugar drops quickly, you tend to feel like you need to get something in your body fast to stop feeling so physically ill. Am I the asshole for embarrassing my parents in family therapy? I'm 15 male, in family therapy with my parents and my sisters Alicia, 13 female, and Kaylee, 12 female. Therapy is pretty new and not going so well.
We're not a close family. We have a lot of issues, and I know we have extra stresses because Alicia has a lot of complex medical issues and she can't do everything Kaylee and I can.
She needs a wheelchair sometimes, she's on lots of meds, but she can be fine sometimes too and can enjoy life.
But she has limitations we don't.
And my parents make me feel like they want me to be another adult and not one of their kids. They don't like me spending time with friends.
They say I could be home, helping, taking care of my sisters or doing stuff at home for them. When I do go, they can make me take one or both sisters.
Get angry if Alicia can't join.
If I'm forced to take one of my sisters, or both, I can't have fun.
I get stuck making sure they're okay. Even birthday parties, like at places and not kid parties anymore, I can be forced to bring them when they're not invited and I get to watch them have fun.
If I have fun at something and my sisters don't, then I get in trouble.
Happened during our last field trips.
I had a great time. Alicia had to leave early because she was sick. Kaylee had such a bad time.
I told Grandpa I had a great time and my parents berated me for it. While Kaylee got to talk about how fun my best friend's birthday at the trampoline park was. And she didn't get into trouble for Alicia being jealous and missing out like I would. I got berated for not having fun though. For acting spoiled that I didn't have a good time. They get mad I don't buy my sister's birthday and Christmas gifts.
They get mad that I get gifts from my best friend's parents. They get mad that I get invited to my best friend's family events as a friend for him to hang out with, and it's made clear my sisters aren't invited even if it's something they could be included in. My parents get annoyed when I confide in Grandpa.
But they also get annoyed if I tell them how they make me feel. Alicia hates being left out, which I get. But I'm the only one my parents get angry with for it. Now we're in family therapy. My parents are using it to talk about how awful I am. They say I'm making life harder for everyone. They didn't expect me to say how things really are. But I did. After my parents said I act like a 5-year-old who doesn't like being the center of attention, I brought up in therapy how they treat me and how I feel like they take their frustration about Alicia requiring so much care out on me, how I'm held to a higher standard and they want me to be an adult and not a kid. I said they can't stand me having fun without my sisters or seeing me being the only one having fun, but almost like it when I'm the one not having fun. My parents got so pissed at me after the session and accused me of embarrassing them. I told them they just didn't want me to speak so openly in front of my sisters, which is why they include them. Am I the asshole? Your parents are toxic. You deserve a childhood, too. All of you children do, but it shouldn't depend on the others. Not the asshole. Hopefully your grandfather supports you. I would ask if he would take you in or help you leave once you are an adult. Not the asshole. If your parents didn't want you to share the truth of how your family relationships functions, then why did they opt to do family therapy? If they didn't want to be embarrassed by having their behavior outed, then they shouldn't have behaved that way. I'm glad you told the truth. Your parents are parentifying you and holding you to an unfair standard that limits your own growth. I hope that the therapist has your back. The whole point of therapy is to be honest, and it sounds like they should be embarrassed. Not the asshole. If your parents don't want to be embarrassed in therapy, perhaps they should be better parents. Therapy is pointless without honesty. They're just mad because you held a mirror up to them and they didn't like what they saw. That is not your fault. I hope that they listen to the therapist and become better parents, but that's not in your control. All you can control is how you choose to be, how you act on your feelings, and your own choices. Make plans for when you will turn 18. Maybe talk to your grandpa about setting up your exit strategy, where you're going to go, school, work, living arrangements, and then on your 18th birthday, get out of there. Having a plan will make the next few years pass more tolerably. Make your goals, stick to them, never look back. Info. What did your therapist say? Not the asshole. You are absolutely right that they are using you as a crutch and it isn't your job to babysit your siblings. You are not their parent and it is not fair for them to expect you to be. They are projecting their feelings of guilt and shame about their own parting onto you.
You are not the bad guy.